And how's your morning going?
Oh, I don't know. I just burned breakfast again. I upset both of the kids. I blew out I don't know how many pieces of the house, and I walked out on a meeting with a really important client.
Sorry I asked.
Hi guys, welcome back to the Butterfly Effect podcast. In today's video, we are going to be doing a Dark Pictures character ranking. We did a similar video about 3 years ago, I want to say. We did it just after The Devil in Me came out. But now Directive 8020 is out, so we've got a whole new set of characters that we're going to throw into this one. I will say that we will be doing some housekeeping, changing our list around that we already have, because Jack and I will have some changes that we will want to do before we get to the Directive 8020 crewmates. And the other thing I want to mention as well is that I did have a bunch of other side characters in the old videos, such as Merwin, Joey, Clarice, Connie, Balafu, Kurum, a bunch of them. However, they're not going to be in this list because the template and the foundation I use no longer exists. So this is going to be more about playable characters as well as sort of the new, the whole of the Directive 8020 class, other than Rumba basically. So I will fess up, Jack. We recorded this video already last week, but my audio corrupted, so we're having to record it again. But I still have the video from all of that footage. So what I'm going to do is show you the housekeeping that we made, mate. And then we can talk through maybe why we made the changes we did. So we decided to keep Charlie in God tier. Fit as a Butcher's Dog was the same. We still had Celine, Jason, and Conrad, that's his name. But then when we get to here, mate, the first big change we have is Brad rocket straight up to Erin. So, I'll pass it to you, mate. Why do you think that is, that Brad goes so high up?
More than anything, I think it's probably to do with his likability. So almost like to run it through to everybody. I'd say it's almost like working from the top down. You're talking like how likable they are and how well written they are. And then as you go down, it becomes a little bit more murky. It might be that they're more likable. It might be that they're more well written. But then as you get further and further down, it's then about them being unlikable and being poorly written. So looking at it again, I do think Brad is actually a little too high. Maybe we will ultimately put other characters ahead of him. He has a nice dynamic with his brother. And he's like the sort of the shy, dorky kid of like Man of Medan. But as of right now, I think last week's version of us, mate, was actually wrong. I think he's a little bit too high there for me. What about yourself?
Yeah, I kind of like Brad. I think he's definitely one of the stronger Man of Medan characters. I think it's like he might be one of the more relatable characters we have, in the sense that, yeah, he is quite dorky and nerdy, and I quite like the fact that in a sea full of like these divers and potentially wealthy and athletic people, he's not really like, he doesn't fake himself, he's just true to himself. He's like, yeah, I'm not great at drinking beer, I'm a bit of a history buff, but you know what? And then he eventually goes on this big potential hero arc, so I really respect Brad for that. So I quite like him being there, but I will rebuff that, yeah, I would be willing to, bump him down a little bit. What I'll do is that we'll speak about another name. Now, when we recorded it last week, we actually put John here, mate. However, we've since discussed that this is probably a bit high. So, should we do the honours of putting him below Eric? Because I think this is kind of where we had him. My rationale is that although I like John and I think he is one of the stronger Little Hope characters, I would say that Little Hope probably has quite surface level characters because of the ultimate twist, that they're not going to be too elaborate, right? Because at the end of the day, they are like figments of someone's imagination. So they're not going to have, say, the backstory and impact that like an Eric or a Kate might have, like Kate with her crystal, Eric with the amputation leg and stuff. So there's a lot more kind of like layers to those guys. So yeah, I don't know what we were on last week, mate, but yeah, I think we need to put John back down a little bit to where we originally had him there.
Absolutely. No, I completely agree, mate. Like you, he is my favourite character out of the 5 in Little Hope. He is sort of like the commander-in-chief, almost self-elected commander-in-chief, because he's the teacher, in quotation marks, we say in this game. But I do think, almost like looking at one of the characters from Directive 8020, that they master the more leading fatherly figure with a character in that game. They just didn't quite get there with John, as you say. He's more surface level. So yes, I think absolutely he's right to be where he is.
For sure. So I mean, the list was fairly like that. We'll obviously, how far do you want to bump Brad down, mate?
I'd probably put him below Kate. Naturally, I mean, I don't know about you, I preferred playing as Eric more than Jamie.
Okay, we can do that.
Probably more than Brad, and probably more than Kate, but maybe I'm getting ahead of myself. What's your take on Eric?
So, yeah, it's all that House of Ashes recency bias, mate. You've just finished it.
It's obviously a thing.
I'm pretty content with that. One thing I want to say that I discussed last week is that I was actually, when I recently played Man of Medan with Lola, I found this new appreciation for Fliss, to be honest. And I actually would say that I kind of would put her above Jamie, only because, like, I don't know, like, she just has this badass nature. She's a bit different to the rest of the crew. Like, she has to, like, take charge a lot, but, like, she randomly goes on, and I don't know. And I think she kind of has my favourite Man of Medan scene as well, when she goes into the ballroom. But I did necessarily agree, yeah, maybe we put her there, because Jamie probably gets the better, kind of, the more action-oriented scenes. She probably, like, is a bit more fleshed out as a character. So I'm happy to just keep Fliss in good, because I really like her. So yeah, like, I think that's a fair spot to put her at the bottom there. One thing I want to mention as well, Jack, is that there are actually 2 names in this good category that we will pip, and we actually ended up putting to the bottom of couldn't give a fuck. The first one being Angela, and I think I sort of led the charge with this one. So I'll vocalise as to why I said that. I was really baffled to look at our old list and see that Angela was in good. Now, I know a lot of people agree with that, and they do like Angela as a character. I think that, dare I say it, I think maybe we're led to believe that because it's a very unique face model that we never really get to play as. The only other time I can really recall her being in these games is when she's like the presenter at the end of The Devil and Me through the TV screen, right? But I don't know, I just look at Angela and I just don't get it. She's just like, the only thing I can really think of is she's just moody and just whines the whole time. And don't get me wrong, I don't like Daniel and Taylor as much as the next guy. All you have to do is look at our list to get that. But I don't get the hate she shows to them. It's not explained. You just randomly spawn into Little Hope. They're like a couple and she's just randomly like attacking them verbally. And it's never explained as to like why the beef's there. So like, because of that, Angela just comes across as this really petty, like, old hag, to be honest. I'll just say it the way I see it, mate. And I just don't really enjoy her character, I guess. But it's not really on her. It's just more like I just think the game could have done like a better explanation as to why she has these quarrels, why she's so snipey and like has her back up the whole time. So for me, yeah, she just falls down out of the good category, to be honest, mate.
Again, yeah, what was we smoking? You're absolutely right. She's very one-dimensional. And it's like what we were saying with John before, feels a bit surface level because you can't really get into the nitty-gritty depth of the character because of the twist that follows, you know. Maybe we was bigging her up before because she's one of the more loud personalities in Little Hope, and we somehow wanted to reward that because, as we can see by looking at this list, Little Hope has not done well. But yeah, I think that's absolutely right. I think she's not very likeable, not very well written. I wouldn't stretch as far as diabolical because I wouldn't say that she was bland. So sitting at the bottom of couldn't give a fuck feels very much appropriate to me.
For sure, mate. And I'll let you lead this one, mate. But we also happen to have removed Mark Nestor down to the bottom of couldn't give a fuck. So I'll let you explain why, mate.
Yeah, so with Mark, maybe not necessarily at the bottom, thinking about it, because he is likeable. Like, of all the people in there, Mark is the most likeable for me. So I probably would put him above Angela and Julia. Where Mark falls down is just that I mean, imagine sort of like imagine I come up to you, mate, and I was like, right, tell me the playable characters in The Devil in Me. I could wager that Mark probably is said from your mouth 4th or 5th, and that sort of says a lot about his character. What do we know? We know that he pines for Kate quite a bit, and we know that he's scared of heights. He has a lot of plot armor, but he doesn't even have a great personality to almost semi-justify him getting to the end of the game. We're not rooting for him massively as players. So on the sort of how well written he is, I think that is what pulls him down. He's relatively bland as well, but I think he's likeable enough to bring him up above Angela and Julia, mate. What about yourself?
Yeah, I don't think you could have said it perfectly. And yeah, you're not wrong. Like, he is one of the more forgettable characters in Devil in Me. And it's almost a real shame, because for someone who has the plot armor, who has to make it all the way to the lighthouse, he inevitably will get quite a few scenes, more so than other characters potentially. But they don't do a whole lot with it, you know. You think about like House of Ashes, you'll have like Rachel falling into the blood pits at the bottom. Mark has the scene where he can like kind of like fall down into like the lair with the killer, and you could do some really good stuff there, but it's just forgettable. He just hides and he's out, you know. So he doesn't do all that much with his screen time. So I do agree, I would remove him from good down to couldn't give a fuck. Likeable guy, like you mentioned, and yeah, you know what, I'll put him above. I'll put him there as well. I could probably put him below Julia, but yeah, I'd still put him above Angela. So yeah, I think that's a valid thing. The last thing we did, for some reason, we put Andrew at the top of Diabolical. Now, don't get me wrong, I know there's a lot of Andrew love out there. I'm pretty sure where we were coming from 3 years ago, and I still kind of back it now, is that, and don't get me wrong, again, we will caveat and say it is because of the Little Hope twist that these characters were kind of made like that. And if you look at Andrew, his whole character is that he's someone probably going through mental health and a concussion, right? So he's not going to be this really vibrant character bursting with, personality and range. But it's just, I think I kind of look at this and I'm a little bit like, when you see a lot of Will Poulter series and films, if you look at Maze Runner, We're the Millers, Bandersnatch, the Black Mirror episode, this guy's like acting caliber's like phenomenal. And Little Hope, just I think maybe like it wasn't the role for him, but he just like, you got very little out of it. Like, I don't think Will Poulter's waking out of bed in the morning looking at his accolades, and I don't think Little Hope's going to be like towards the top of the list for him. I'm just going to say it. So like, it is, I would say it is an underwhelming performance. Probably not his own fault, but it's just the way the Andrew character is. So yeah, he is diabolical, but I will put him above Alex and Taylor, who I actively dislike as characters.
Yeah, again, I completely agree, mate. I think almost to add on top of that as well, there's just something about, and I am sort of low-key going to diss the location of Little Hope now. Not that it's terrible, but I think it's probably just the weakest of the series so far. Is that because the environment is so dark and so foggy, there's not a hell of a lot to look at, and I'm talking in particular about cutscenes and stuff. Therefore, your eye is naturally directed to the characters a lot more, and because the characters don't jump out at you massively, that's then even more telling, and I think it goes against them as a whole even more. And when you think that Will Poulter is like the celebrity, the lead character, obviously the character that has the twist, the performance wasn't strong, and it therefore all of these things conjure together in like this cocktail, this sort of, you know, really negative cocktail against Little Hope overall. So yeah, I think to almost say, you know, add on what you were saying, mate, the performance, everything, top of Diabolical, I'm happy with that.
For sure. And yeah, I guess we have to say, like, Little Hope has its strengths, but for us, the characters just aren't one of them, unfortunately. But again, guys, we will reiterate, we have to say it in every video, this isn't factual, this is subjective, this is our opinion. So yeah, Reddit, stop typing, I can hear you from here, mate. Right, we're just going to go into the Directive 8020 section of the video now, mate. So that is our list. We'll add our characters in. So obviously we've recorded this once before. Do you want me to drag in where I put the characters and then we can discuss it? Or did you want to do it fresh, mate?
You know what? One final thing I very nearly forgot. potentially a hot take, potentially House of Ashes bias. I know that she's not a very likeable character, but I almost want to slightly reward how well written she is more. I'm going to pitch that Rachel goes up to the bottom of good, mate. Where do you stand on it?
Yeah, you know what? I will lean into this. I think there were a lot of comments in the last video asking why is Rachel that low? And maybe I threw a bit of personal heat in there, I don't know. But I think I just looked at, oh, she cheats on Eric, thus she's all the way down. I hate her as a character. But, like, you can't, you know, get around the fact that when you play House of Ashes, god damn it, she's a badass. She gets some of the best scenes. And, yeah, you know what? Is it Queen Bitch that she's called? She plays the role quite well. And I think you have to reward that. So, you know what? I'm kind of willing to put her there, mate. So, yeah, we can put her in good. I'm all for that, mate. But it's sweet.
All right.
So,
Sweet.
Lad, Directive 8020, we're at that section now. We've done our ranking before. Did you want to go fresh, or shall I put where we previously put the characters, and then we can discuss whether we were right or wrong with that?
I think we've got to go fresh, you know, because a part of me remembers where we put them, but you know what? It might be interesting if there is some like minor tweaks and changes. So I say we just go with it right now with the punches.
For sure, mate. Right, I'll lead the charge, and we'll go in order like we did last time, mate. We're going to start with Carter. I'm going to say it. For me, out of the 10 characters here, Carter is the weakest one. And that isn't to say he's the least likeable. In fact, he's one of the most likeable. Like, Carter, what a guy. If you're going to have a beer with any of these characters, Carter might be one of the top ones for you. But the thing is with Carter is that he is prologue fodder, right? So naturally, he's not going to get the same amount of love the other characters are. Sims is also prologue fodder, but we're going to get into her next about why we rate her slightly higher. I still think Carter is one of the stronger prologue characters we've ever had in Dark Pictures history. You look at like characters like Jeff and Marie, you know, is it Joey and Charlie and Man and Medan? These, like Sims and Carter, are so much more better. They're flashed out. They have these personalities. They tried to give Carter this backstory about how he was sick when he was younger. And then he, like, you know, looks after his plants and stuff. And, you know, I really cared for Carter. However, yeah, unfortunately, being prologue fodder, we're only really going to see him in one chapter and a bit with some minor little cutscenes here and there. So I'm willing to put him in good because we know me, I love Directive 8020 and I think the characters are one of the standout things about that game. So unfortunately, I don't think, because of his lack of screen time, I don't think he really warrants anywhere high in good. But I think he belongs probably at the bottom of good.
I do agree as well. And just to add on top of that, they did give him that little bit of depth as well, where he can look at the pitch, you know, or the video clip of his wife and child, just to give that sort of sentimentality and emotional value to his character and the story and like the scale of the mission that these people were going on as well. And correct me if I'm wrong, but actually the fact, you know, his body does get discovered in the main game, which I believe is a first in the Dark Pictures, because the prologues are usually set so much more further in the past than the past that we get in 8020. So there's that whole dynamic as well with the crew discovering him dead and the, you know, the shockwaves of that relating to Sims and what's on board and this and that. So yeah, I do agree. Overall, a good character, a likeable character, not enough screen time to warrant him to get any higher though.
Yeah, and with the body point, you could also maybe say House of Ashes did that, but maybe they're prolonged with like the green goo stuff, right? When you find Kurim or Balathu in the pits. But yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
But yeah, mate, Sims though, where would you rank Sims?
I would rank Sims higher than Carter. I think Sims... See, I might have thrown a little bit of a curveball with this Rachel thing being sat at the end there, but I'm going to stick with it. She's certainly more likeable than Rachel. In terms of well written, I'm not too sure. Maybe it's like on a par or something, but Sims is a prologue character that transcends into the main game, as we all know, because of like the several recordings that we can find, and she does have her place within the game. I mean, not only is she sort of like copied and a bit of a villain for a while, a lot of the crew think that she's gone mad or whatever, but the fact that she also is almost learning about what the main plot is, you know, sort of the communications between Earth and Williams, and thinking, okay, what's going on here? So it's almost like we're learning along with Sims in a way. So I guess that does make her slightly more relatable to the player. Having said all of that, again, she doesn't necessarily get the exposure that some of these other characters have. So at best, I'm probably putting her below Fliss or below Rachel, mate.
Yeah, below Fliss or below Rachel. Yeah, you know what? I see that as well. Because, yeah, like, I really like Sims. I can't really say anything better than what you said, other than it's really epic that we get, like, a cool Scottish accent in there. We get a bit of, like, asexual representation. So Sims was just, like, a really cool character, and I really bought into the dynamic of her and Carter in the earlier scenes. But yeah, and like I would say, because of how switched on she was and the fact she was on to Williams, what an asset she would have been if she wasn't a sleep technician and she was with the main crew. So yeah, I really think you have to kind of like rate Sims for that. But yeah, like at the end of the day, she is still prologue fodder. She's good, better than Carter, but I'm willing to put her there for now, mate. Obviously, you know, our opinions fluctuate. That could change again, but that's kind of where I'm thinking for now. I'm looking at Anders next, mate. For Anders, really cool, bit of Australian representation. She's kind of like a nice little fun, whimsical character. She's one of the shyer ones, being kind of like the new, the new lamb in the flock, basically. I think she's very much like complemented by Cooper, and she's almost like an accessory to Cooper to an extent. Like, she's kind of the newbie that Cooper's brought on board, so all of her kind of like great scenes pretty much happen with her. She obviously gets one amazing like scene where she can like stand up on her 2 feet and stand up to Williams, which is really cool. And then she has like the cool mimic choice. But yeah, other than that, being a non-playable character, she's not gonna fall naturally high. She's gonna, again, like we're cramming the good category, but I think, you know, that just shows you that picture have a lot of good characters. So she probably falls somewhere in the good camp for me. I'd probably put her, I want to put her above the prologue lot. I'm thinking somewhere around the realm of like Fliss and John, to be honest, mate. How about yourself? You know what, actually, I could actually say maybe above Jamie, you know. I'm looking at it.
Yeah, to be honest, I'd probably go one step further and maybe even go above Brad. I really rate Anders as like one of the best NPCs that Supermassive have done. The fact that we get 2 great NPCs in this game as well, and they're both almost antagonists of one another, the other one being Williams, of course. And yeah, she has that whole scene where she can find out about Williams and him communicating with Earth. We get sort of the girly bromance, you know, with Cooper. Generally a fun character to be around and likable as well. Yeah, that's where I'd put her anyway.
Oh, sweet. We have Mitchell next, mate, but I am actually going to switch it and give you the floor with this one because I know how much you like Williams, mate. So, by all means, mate, kick us off with Williams.
Yeah, so this is where almost my criteria falls down a little bit, because with Williams, I think it's fair to say, for the most part, you could argue that he's unlikable. There are aspects of him that are likable, but I think broadly, he's probably unlikable. However, I think he's, as we've said in another video, a very, very strong character. Probably the best NPC that Supermassive have ever made, alongside or maybe even beating Travis Hackett from The Quarry. The plot is so centered around this guy, not only because he knows the twist, he knows what's going on, plus he's the CEO of Corinth, but also just because of like his whole demeanor. Like when you're walking around, you can see how egotistical the guy is. He's plastered his face everywhere. This is the guy at the heart of a philosophical question in terms of what is the best. Do they proceed with the whole clone thing to try and save the Earth, or does he let Earth die? And obviously he went for the former, and that has its own sort of like questions and sort of layers with it as well, which makes him so more deep than a lot of the other characters on this list. So I'm going to put him in fit as a butcher's dog, but I think his unlikability tendencies pull him down a bit. So I would probably put him in between Jason and Conrad, because at least with Jason he does have like a redeeming ending to his arc. So yeah, that's where I put him.
No, for sure, mate. Yeah, like with Williams, I'm fully with you. I really like his chilling deliveries. He's almost like the way he's plastered everywhere. He is like Mr. LinkedIn. But my favourite quote, I always say this is the line he has in the credit sequences where, you know, he wishes everyone a lovely 8 Christmases and he hopes he can bring you back a new world. And he does that like really cheesy smile into the camera. And he's super unlikable, but he does it with a smile. And I think in the last recording I said, he reminds me of like a salesman who sold me into a pyramid scheme, but he smiled when he did it, so I still feel happy about it. So like, I really like Williams as a character, and I like the fact that he's unlikable, he's evil, but it's not as black and white as that, because with the survival versus humanity question, he's just simply team survival, and he's someone who's pioneering that side. And like, it's not a black and white question, you know, like it's a very complex one. So like, there's layers to his villain arc, and it's not just as simple as he's just an evil person who wants to make money and rule the world. He's someone who actually looks up to Nolan Stafford and wants to save his race, and you know, he's just making executive decisions along his way to do that. So yeah, I will agree. I'll put him fit as a butcher's dog. Yeah, like, I'm happy to put him there as well, mate. So we'll look at Mitchell. For me, Mitchell is a character that's clearly an homage to the Aliens character Hudson, if anyone's seen that, where he's the person where things go wrong, he'll yell out kind of like whingy, moany quotes to kind of like almost compliment the good guys and the heroes because they're looking quite stoic. So he plays that role very well. He plays it to a T. I almost want to say that, like, in second playthroughs, Mitchell actually got enhanced for me. I think he becomes much better when Nolan Stafford dies in Chapter 3, because he clearly has kind of like the teacher's pet vibe, where, like, he doesn't trust Anders, he's sniffing around Nolan Stafford, like, oh, do you trust her? I'm not sure I do. If Nolan Stafford can die, he'll be in there and he'll like moan and like kick up a fuss, and then he's not happy with the fact that Eisele goes in power and might say no to like authorizing the gun, for example. So he almost becomes a little bit more villainous. But you know what? He has some really cool scenes. He gets to go out and tell SETIF. He gets the cool scene where, you know, he tries to become a hero at the end, but then, you know, ends up going to the door, which can inevitably kill him depending on the choice you make. So yeah, like, he is a really neat addition, to be honest. I almost want to say that I kind of want to put him almost between Carter and Sims, potentially, mate.
Oh, in between. See, I was thinking maybe one higher. So I can go with either, because I don't think I'd almost want to praise Rachel's writing, although she's unlikable, more than Mitchell overall in terms of his likability and well-writtenness. But I don't know, I could take it or leave it. I'm happy to actually put him in the middle, you know. Sweet. Of Sims and Carter. Yeah. Oh,
fuck's sake, my mouse has died. Hang on. Cat.
They just don't want us to make this video. And who's they?
There we go. Right, mouse is reconnected. There we go. So yeah, I'll
nice.
put him. I'll put him there because, like, if you're thinking maybe even above Rachel, I think, you know, maybe award his playability a little bit. So I'll put him above Sims. He is kind of like a cool character. I'm just going to zoom out a little smidge so I can see everyone else. There we go. Right. Okay, mate. We are at Eisele. I can't remember. Is it your? It's your turn to speak next, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, so, mate, kick us off with Laura Eisele.
Eisele was, up to a point, my favourite character in Directive 8020. I liked how rogue she was, how sort of anti, as much as I liked Stafford, I liked how anti-authority she was, in the sense that she could tell that something was going on. Something was wrong on the ship, and she went to investigate it anyway. And Weirdly, I did sort of for a little while buy into the theory that she might have been a robot. Just with the way she spoke and her whole nature and demeanour, I was thinking, is she a sidekick that's a robot on board, you know? And generally quite likeable. It was really at the point when she died at the scanner that other characters then started to like climb above her ultimately. But I wouldn't say she quite does enough though to get into fit as a butcher's dog. However, I do think she's near the top of good. I might even actually say at the very top of good, mate. What about you?
Yeah, Eisele's an interesting one. It's cool having like the engineer on the ship. Her line delivery, slightly robotic actually, like is a little bit chilling, and it almost can like throw fire onto some theories as well. The fact that she kind of like goes back and forth, clashes with Stafford a little bit potentially, maybe even Noah Mitchell. So yeah, there's a lot that's great there. It's just, yeah, I really lean into what you said, and it's going to be a part of another kind of like separate discussion video we're going to do. But in many weird ways, I think the game actually benefits more with Eisele out the picture. And I'm not going to say too much more than that, but I think Directive 8020 obviously adopts this substitution kind of like formula, and I think that Eisele is at the forefront of a lot of it, and I think characters coming into the forefront in her spot shine in a really nice light. So yeah, I almost like would put Eisele in good, not in fit as a butcher's dog. But yeah, like I think top of good's fair. I could probably put her maybe even one below Erin, but I think, you know, that is probably a fair spot, mate. I'll kick off with Bryony Young. Now, Bryony Young's a really interesting one for me. In my blind playthrough, I had Eisele die at the scanner scene. Now, Young pretty much went to the forefront a lot more from that point. She unlocked the hero character trait for me, and I really liked Young as a character. It wasn't until I played the game a second time that I kind of thought to myself, oh wow, she's very background. And this might be a hot take, mate, but my opinion is that Young back on Earth is almost a stronger character than like Young on the ship, because at least you have like the backstory scenes with Young with like the cake and that, and then you also kind of have like her like, you know, giving the message, you know, she's like almost like the hero of the game. But like, I don't know, when she comes on the ship there's a lot less for her to do, and I think like other characters really bully her out the way. And almost being the celebrity edition in this game and the original version I had where she was the one that went into the pits with Young, I thought she was going to have this more prominent role. And then when I learned that if you go for an all survivor gameplay, almost like the potential intended version of the game, she actually goes into the shadows a lot more, and I think she's worse off. So I think she's a good character, but I think it's like middle of good. I'd probably put her between Anders and Eric, mate, at a glance.
Ooh, I think all the points you make are absolutely valid. It is a funny one with her, because I think when you go and have these flashback scenes, you get to see the torment and you've got the mystery of the plot. So you're constantly being brought along with her, because you're thinking, okay, what is she signing? What is she going on about with Stafford? But when you go back to the ship, I'm trying to think of like her scenes now before maybe chapter 7, you know, when you go on the planet or whatever, or when you come back off the planet, and all I can really think of is chapter 4, like the chapter we played at the event, mate. I don't get a massive sense of characterization. She has like a couple of moments with Mitchell in the cockpit, but you're right, I think the human version of her is so much stronger, and it's only towards the end that she really comes to the fore, and that's if Eisele dies. So yeah, I'm in agreement with you. I think she does have that good scene though, you know, when she's talking to the crew explaining what's going on.
Yeah.
And she does unlock like the hero trait or the pragmatic trait, whatever one. I would probably, I'd go one above Eric actually. So honestly, it doesn't really matter. There's like one space in it. I'd probably go above Eric, but that or below him either way.
Yeah, I think that's where I was going to put her. So no, I'm happy with that, mate. Right, we're over to Cernan, mate. I'll let you kickstart with Cernan.
Cernan. Of the playable characters, I think Cernan is the weakest. That's not to say that he's bad, but I do think he is the weakest. We know he has a backstory about his husband, and obviously that actually is a factor that's brought into Corinth's thinking in terms of the neural upload. You know, they do even acknowledge it quite a bit. And as a outlook, so as a person with, you know, his outlook, he's very philosophical, quite maybe like the wise head that's on board. He has a few action scenes, but maybe it's because I think that he's surrounded by people that have just got louder personalities. In my mind, Cernan falls down into the pack a little bit as a result of that. So I would place Cernan in and around the cluster of John, Fliss, Rachel, mate. Somewhere in and around there. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, you know, we spoke about this in our last one. This is kind of like maybe where our opinion differs, but it's really weird though, because like I also agree with what you're saying as well. With Cernan, I don't know, like I quite like having that philosophical, level-headed kind of character on board, and it's even scenes where you're like freaking out, he'll be there to kind of offer you some level of support. And I don't know, I really liked his calm presence in the ship. He's got a bit of a nice backstory as well. And but I get you, maybe it doesn't go beyond that, but also maybe it didn't need to be. I think he does have some of the cool scenes, and yeah, I was pretty happy that I managed to get him to the end, because I didn't have a great end game in my Directive 8020, but luckily he did make it. I would put him towards sort of like maybe the top end of good. So I think naturally he balances somewhere potentially. I'm going to do the math. I think that would take him probably around about here, mate, if we was to compromise.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Okay, that works for me.
Nolan Stafford. For me, I really like Nolan Stafford as a character. He is one of the stronger people. It was just like, one thing I really like about him that I don't think's talked about enough is kind of like the aura he presents. Kind of like, you could play the game on mute, but by the way he kind of like struts around the ship, poses, like that man just kind of radiates leadership. And I really liked his like voice delivery as well. I feel like I really got the impression that he was like someone who could make executive decisions, but also really cared for the crew, and he really put kind of like his crewmates above anyone else. And that's just like shown by the dialogue. If, for example, you pick to send like a distress signal, he'll say, yeah, my primary concern is saving my crew here. So yeah, I really like Nolan Stafford. I think I would probably put him fit as a butcher's dog. The reason he doesn't go any higher for me is that I do have a few niggles with him. One, I think some of the game, you could argue, becomes a lot better in character Step Out the Shadows when he does die in Chapter 3. And the other thing I would say as well is that potentially I don't like or get his reasoning for clashing with Eisele in the earlier chapters, when Eisele just simply wants to investigate what the sleep crew are doing. Stafford's very young to dismiss her and shut her down for very valid reasons, like they're like out there on the CCTV cameras, like causing scenes and like damaging equipment, and he's just there quick to say, no, don't, they're fine, don't worry about it. And it's like, Stafford, come on, mate. So other than that though, I do think he's a strong character, strong enough, mate, that and I'll spoil where we put him in the last one, but I just agree with the ranking. I'm kind of willing to put him probably above Jason, below Salim. I don't think he quite beats Salim for me, but I do think he's fit as a butcher's dog.
Yeah, absolutely. I think between Salim and Jason, I think probably what pips him over Jason is his likability, whereas Jason at the start of House of Ashes, he's really not that likable. He's like that hot-headed American, you know. So yeah, I think with Stafford, it's like what I was saying with John earlier, but they almost like perfected the writing better. He has that aura of being in command, that fatherly figure. Naturally has close ties with Young, as we can see in the flashback scenes. He also has ties with Williams, naturally, because Williams is the CEO and Nolan is his pilot. He has ties with Eisele because obviously they're first and second in command. And even when you're texting the guy over like the little messenger system, I think even the other characters feel connected to him. So it probably goes a long way as to say why I think Stafford is my favourite character in Directive 8020, because he feels the most connected. But even on top of that, with his writing, you can see the dilemma in his eyes. Like when he's talking to Young in the flashback scenes, you can see him empathising with her position. And even when he's talking to Williams in that scene, you can see, I mean, obviously the player choice sort of dictates how it goes, but you can see sort of like some reluctance or some hesitance or some like uncertainty, which makes him obviously very human. So yeah, I think he's a very good character, and that's where I'd put him as well.
Sweet, mate. Okay, and we're down to our final one in Cooper, mate. I'll let you lead the charge of this one.
Yes, this might be one where we differ a little bit again, mate. I know that Cooper is a very popular character among sort of like the Dark Pictures fandom. For me, I've never quite understood why. I think it's very much, for me, I'm almost based it on my blind playthrough. I had quite a lot of people survive, and I think that naturally meant that Cooper fell down the pecking order in terms of opportunities to play. Obviously, she has a great rapport with Anders. She's the medic. I do feel like there was a missed opportunity, and I said this in my House of Ashes stream. There was a missed opportunity for her to have a moment where she gets to perform something as a medic to potentially save a character. But I do think it's almost rooted in how you play as her. You can play her as quite straight and professional. You can play her as quite playful. And when she's being playful, I think she's at her best. But I don't think I necessarily got enough of that. So as a result, I would put her in good. I would put her in and around. You know what? I'd probably put her next to her buddy Anders. Probably one above her.
No, very well, mate. Yeah, I mean, I've vocalised it as well. Cooper probably is my favourite in Directive 8020. But again, mate, like with Cernan, I agree with a lot of your points. I do think that, yeah, although she got to be medic for like Young's eye or Williams's seizure, I do think they probably could have done something where her medical expertise could have actually affected more of the branching. Like, imagine if a character got injured and then if they were with Cooper in a later scene, they could have got healed and then they had like the ability to fight off a monster. But maybe if you didn't meet with Cooper and they didn't get medical treatment, maybe they get like a really tough battle and the QTEs become harder, or they, get a death scene, just something along those lines could have been very beneficial. But yeah, like, I don't know, I quite liked the fact that she was like the tough cookie on board. I think if you're going to have anyone fight in your corner, in terms of combat, you'd probably pick Cooper, being a former Marine. I think it was really cool that like the most badass character was Cooper. And I don't know, just something about kind of the trauma storyline resonated with me, and I really like that end choice she got. So, but I do agree, she very much is one of the substitute characters where she is almost reliant on either Stafford or Eisele dying off for her to be able to step up to get more of those major scenes. So it does harm her a little bit. For me, she would be in Fit as a Butcher's Dog. But naturally with where you placed her, that would put her towards the top of good. So I think naturally she is going to fall between Erin and Kate, and we're going to split the Devil in Me characters up a little bit. And mate, without further ado, that is our ranking. How do you feel about that?
You know what? I mean, I was literally just thinking this. In 3 years' time, we may well be ripping this up again. But as of right now, I'm even more happier with this than the version we done last week. So who knows? Maybe it was meant to be. But yeah, I like it, mate.
No, for sure, yeah. And obviously, it's our compromised list, so there is going to be some weird concoctions in there, and but it is certainly an interesting list. And I think for the most part, it does show us that Directive 8020 had a really good set of characters, mostly good, but funnily enough, they almost kind of struggled to find that star character that kind of made them hit Salim or Charlie. Like, obviously we've crowned a new bronze medalist, really, but none of them quite hit that Charlie Lonnet kind of star power we were looking for, mate.
You're right. And you know what? Having recently played House of Ashes, and obviously the big question being, was House of Ashes the best DPA? A part of me, and especially seeing Charlie in the God tier, a part of me's wanting to replay the devil in me to see if a lot of that still holds water, because who knows, things can change. Like we've said, in over the 3 years that have gone, we've made a few changes here for this, that, or reason or the other. So yeah, it's certainly one to think about.
No, for sure. And again, guys, I'll reiterate, this isn't factual, this is subjective. Jack and our opinions themselves fluctuate massively, like they did within a week, that I'm sure as you comment, we might, and you hate a lot of what we've done, we might agree with you. What were we thinking as of this moment right now? But until then, guys, we probably won't revisit this video until probably another 3 or 4 years, until Craven Man or Intercession, whichever one comes out next. But yeah, we'll do the housekeeping. I'll link you back to the previous video so you can look at that one if you want to look more at the original video that we did do. But until then, guys, we hope you enjoyed this one. Let us know what you thought of our list and we'll grab those in the comments. And otherwise, guys, we'll see everyone in the next one. Ciao for now.
See you in the future.